Mississippi, 1947. The hiss of hot oil, the clink of wrenches, and the low hum of a radio filled the air inside a one-room garage on the edge of a cotton field. Silas Ward, sleeves rolled high and shirt soaked through with sweat, leaned over a hand-built engine, every bolt and tube assembled from scrap. His face was lit by a single hanging bulb, and his eyes, sharp, calculating, never blinked when he worked. The motor kicked once, then again. Then, with a pop and a gasp, it roared to life. Silas took a step back, grinning like a man who just caught lightning in a jar. "You hear that, Lena?" he called out. "She runs clean." From the doorway, his wife Lena watched him with equal parts love and fear. "I hear it," she said, "and I hear trouble too." Silas wiped his hands on a rag, gaze still locked on the engine. This could change everything. Runs faster, lighter, no smoke, no clog. She could power a car for days off one tank. Lena stepped inside, looking over the strange creation, part Ford, part tractor, part miracle. "And who you think gonna let you have credit for that?" Silas's smile faltered. He looked down at the notebook on his workbench, pages filled with sketches, formulas, calculations, and fear, because he already knew what Lena was saying. A week ago, two men in suits had visited, sent from an auto company up north. They smiled too wide, asked too many questions, and didn't like it when Silas mentioned patents. "We could take this to market for you," one had said. "Give you a little something for it. You don't even need to put your name on it." Silas had closed the door before they could finish. That night, rain poured heavy outside the tin-roofed garage. Silas sat at the workbench, staring at the open notebook. The prototype sat behind him, covered now with a tarp. Then slowly, he reached for the matchbox. Lena stepped inside, just as the first page curled and blackened. "No," she whispered. "I can't let them steal it," Silas said, voice trembling. "They'll bury it, or claim it like it was theirs from the start." She walked over, tears already forming, and placed her hand over his. "Don't destroy it. Hide it. Save it, for someone who knows how to finish what you started." Silas hesitated. Then he reached beneath the bench and pulled out a small steel box, once a toolbox, now a vault. He carefully placed the half-burnt pages, a rusted wrench, and an audio reel inside. He locked the box, wrapped it in canvas, and slid it into a hollow behind a loose cabinet board. "For the one who sees," he whispered. Outside, thunder cracked across the sky. Inside, a legacy went into hiding, waiting for the world to catch up. Present day, Meridian University, Engineering Lab. The hum of 3D printers buzzed in the background, while Nia Ward, a senior mechanical engineering student, adjusted a prototype for a water-powered turbine. Her hair was tied up in a bandana, her sleeves rolled high like her great-grandfather's, though she didn't know it yet. She was sharp, introverted, and far ahead of her peers. But lately, she'd been restless. She could feel it. There was more to what she was meant to do than competitions and homework. Something bigger, something missing. 2 days later, Nia stood in the doorway of a small wooden garage in the Mississippi heat. The city had sent a demolition notice. The place was scheduled to be torn down by next week. It had belonged to her grandfather, and before that, to Silas Ward, a man whispered about in the family but never fully explained. The air was heavy with old oil, rust, and silence. She spent the morning clearing it out. Rusted tools, broken shelves, a moldy tarp draped over a rotted workbench. Most of it wasn't salvageable. Then she noticed a cabinet built into the back wall, partly sunken into the wood. Inside, behind cracked wood panels, her fingers brushed metal. She tugged, and out slid a steel box, its surface dark with time, its lock broken clean by corrosion. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside, charred fragments of yellowed paper, edges burned but diagrams still visible. A rusted wrench engraved faintly with SW47, and tucked beneath it all, an audio reel labeled in pencil, "For the one who sees." Nia sat on the garage floor, legs crossed, as the Mississippi heat swirled around her like ghosts. She didn't know exactly what she'd found, but she knew one thing for certain. This box wasn't meant to stay buried. That night, back in her dorm room, Nia borrowed an old reel-to-digital converter from a history professor. She hit play. The speaker crackled to life, static cutting through silence. Then a voice emerged. Deep, slow, calm, southern, Silas Ward. "If you're hearing this, then maybe you see what I saw. Maybe you know how to finish what I couldn't." Nia froze, her eyes filled. "They came to take it, told me I couldn't own it, told me it didn't matter who built it, just who filed it first. So I left it behind, not for them, not for profit, for you. The blueprint's in the burn, the proof's in the math. If you've got my hands, you'll find the rest." The tape clicked. Silence. Nia sat in the glow of her laptop screen, staring at the fragments of sketches now scanned into her design software. Her heart pounded. "Grandpa," she whispered, "what the hell did you build?" The past had lit a match, and she wasn't going to let it burn out. The next morning, Nia skipped her classes. Instead, she spread the charred fragments across the lab bench and scanned each one at high resolution. The outlines were fractured, parts missing, but the logic was still there. Engine pressure maps, combustion diagrams, heat efficiency curves. It didn't just resemble modern engine design. It predicted it. She cross-referenced Silas's notes with modern models. His concept was 30 years ahead of its time. His engine was lighter, more fuel efficient, and had a heat-to-power ratio that beat most of today's combustion engines. "You were a genius," she whispered, holding a fragment of a piston sketch, "and they buried you like scrap metal." For the next 2 weeks, Nia worked like a woman possessed. She reverse-engineered the missing components based on Silas's notes and audio reel. She recreated his design in CAD software, and when gaps appeared, she referenced the junk math Silas had scribbled on the back of an old mechanic's manual. It wasn't junk, it was code. His way of hiding the design in plain sight. By the end of the month, she had a digital prototype. She filed an initial design patent in her name, Nia Ward, descendant of Silas. And that's when things changed. One morning, Nia opened her school email to find a cease and desist notice from Brighton Industries, a massive automotive tech conglomerate. The letter claimed that the design infringed on an existing internal patent owned by their company, dated only 6 weeks earlier. Nia's hands clenched. They knew. Someone must have seen her filing, recognized the design, and moved fast to shut her down. She dug deeper. Brighton Industries, as it turned out, was founded as Brighton Manufacturing in 1950, a direct spin-off from the very company that had tried to buy Silas's design all those years ago. They didn't forget his work. They'd been watching for it ever since. Later that night, Nia sat with her aunt, Silas's granddaughter, flipping through a stack of old newspapers and legal records. "They said he stole from them," her aunt said softly. "Labeled him a thief. Ran him out of town the same year your mama was born." Nia's stomach turned. They hadn't just buried his work. They'd rewritten the story too. But not anymore. Nia stood up, her voice firm. "I'm going public. I'll submit to the university showcase. I'll upload the reel. I'll submit the math. Let everyone see what he built." Her aunt looked at her wide-eyed. "And if they come for you? Then I'll make noise loud enough that they can't bury me too." The next morning, Nia submitted the design to the National Collegiate Innovation Showcase, along with a video that started with Silas's reel. She titled the submission, "The Burnt Blueprints, an Engine, Buried and Reborn." And then she waited, not for permission, but for the storm. The showcase video went live on a Thursday. At first, nothing happened. Then, quietly, the views began to climb. A few engineering students shared it. Then a retired auto technician commented on the design. "This looks like something I saw in a Detroit shop back in '71. Black guy brought it in. We never saw him again." By Sunday, Burnt Blueprints was trending on engineering Twitter. The clip of Silas's voice, grainy, defiant, brilliant, spread like wildfire. They can take the parts, but they can't take the math. On Monday morning, Brighton Industries responded. A corporate statement was issued claiming the story was fabricated, that the design was a clever derivative of existing engine concepts, and that Nia Ward's patent filing was unfounded. Then came the takedown request. Nia's video was flagged for copyright violation and pulled from several platforms. Emails flooded her inbox. Lawyers, cease and desists, threats disguised as offers. "We'd like to acquire your design for a generous sum and avoid further legal friction." She stared at the number. It was life-changing. But she remembered her great-grandfather's voice. "This ain't for profit. It's for you." And she clicked delete. Later that day, her advisor at the university called her in. "Nia, this is bigger than a school project. Brighton has lawyers, political weight. You're playing with fire." "No," she said. "I'm holding it." That night, she uploaded the full blueprint, Silas's notes, the audio reel, the reconstructed engine, to an open-source patent archive for public record. Then she released a new video titled, "The Burnt Blueprints, Full Story. Download before they delete it." It couldn't be sold now, couldn't be erased. It belonged to everyone, and Silas's name was carved in it. The response was instant. Mechanical engineers, historians, black inventors, archivists, they rallied. Tech influencers called it the most important design theft story since Tesla. A coalition of black engineers launched the Silas Ward Foundation to fund overlooked inventors. A small museum in Alabama offered to exhibit the original charred blueprints, and under growing pressure, both legal and public, Brighton Industries backed down. They withdrew their claim, quietly, silently, just like the way they tried to erase him. In a courtroom, weeks later, the U.S. Patent Office issued an official ruling. Silas Ward is hereby recognized as the original inventor of the Ward engine series, a prototype. Filing rights and legacy are granted to his direct descendant, Nia Ward. When the gavel struck, Nia didn't cry. She smiled and felt the weight of decades rise off her shoulders like smoke finally clearing. Silas's name had made it, and so had she. 1 year later, the glass doors slid open, revealing a sleek, sunlit space filled with movement, invention, and possibility. The sign above the entrance read, "Ward Innovation Lab, Fuel the Future, Honor the Past." Inside, rows of young engineers, mostly women, mostly black and brown, worked on projects Silas Ward could only dream of. Electric engines for low-income vehicles, clean water filtration powered by wind pressure, even drone-based farming tools. At the center of it all, mounted in a clear case beneath warm light, sat a fully restored version of Silas's Series A engine prototype, complete with his original charred notes, preserved beside it. Above the display, etched into bronze, he burned it to protect it. She rebuilt it to share it with the world. Nia stood beside the display, arms folded, wearing a mechanic's apron over a black blazer, a tribute to both who she was and who she came from. Across the room, a group of high school girls on a field trip gathered around the engine. One of them raised her hand. "Miss Ward, why didn't he just sell it? Like, make money off it?" Nia smiled gently. "Because sometimes, when you're the first to build something, they don't want you to own it. They just want to own you." She knelt beside the girl. He didn't want to be erased. He wanted to be remembered the right way. And now, He will be, because you will. That evening, Nia sat alone in her office. The sky outside burned gold with sunset. She opened her laptop and played the reel one last time. Silas's voice crackled through. If you're hearing this, then maybe you see what I saw. She leaned back in her chair, smiling. I saw it, Grandpa, and I made sure the world did too. Outside, a delivery van rolled by, powered by the Ward Series A engine. Quiet, efficient, reclaimed. What they tried to bury had become the fuel for a new generation. And this time, the name wouldn't burn. It would run. Some ideas were born too early. Some names were buried before they ever had a chance to rise. Silas Ward built a future in a time that wasn't ready for him. And when the world tried to silence him, his granddaughter made sure it heard him loud and clear. If this story inspired you, don't let it fade. Like it, share it, and subscribe to help bring more forgotten voices back into the light. Because the blueprint wasn't lost. It was waiting for someone who could see.